Today we're going to try out 3 different suppressors, 3 wildly different sizes, 3 wildly different price points. First is going to be the Witt machine and tool Canooter valve, 556 can, 223. Then the Otter Creek Labs Polonium K, and then the SilencerCo Velos LBP. But we're going to be running them all on 556 guns, and we're going to test not only the sound suppression, but also the gas blowback. First up is the Witt machine and tool Canooter valve. I own a couple Witt machine and tool cans, and for the price, they're pretty good. But this is, I mean, look how small this suppressor is. So we're gonna see how effective it can really be at that size. Welcome back to Sawteeth Tactical. We are here today to compare 3 suppressors: the Witt machine and tool Canooter valve, the Otter Creek Labs Polonium K, and the SilencerCo Velos LBP. Now the reason why I wanted to do this is simple. So I could have just done a review video on the Witt machine Canooter valve, but I did a video last week about suppressor volume corresponding with suppressor effectiveness when it comes to sound suppression. And so I wanted to see how true that was, but I wanted a control, so I tested them all on 556 guns, because I did do a video last week with the SilencerCo Velos on my 300 Blackout, as well as on a 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10, and I've shot my Polonium K a ton on my 556 guns, and I also own 2 other Witt machine suppressors, but one has only ever been on 300 Blackout and the other is on a 9mm PCC. This is the first one that I've used on a 556 gun, and it's much smaller than my other ones. So I decided, instead of just doing that video, we're gonna do a comparison of all of them. I shot them all back to back, side by side, and we're gonna see how they stack up. Make sure you're subscribed, and let's begin. So I did get a little bit of gas to the face, but not much more than you would get unsuppressed. And I could definitely tell that it's not as loud as unsuppressed, although definitely not as quiet as some other suppressors. We started with the Witt machine and tool Canooter valve. And I kind of thought that this wasn't going to be a fair comparison, because if you look at the size difference here between the biggest one and the smallest one, there's a massive difference. And there was a difference, but the results might surprise you. They did kind of surprise me. So to be quite honest, I thought that this suppressor wasn't going to do much at all. The owner of this suppressor, my buddy Nick, who is also the one that is letting me use this, that loaned me this gun, the AR-10 I've been shooting videos with, well, he paid less for this suppressor than the cost of the tax stamp, if that tells you anything. So, but I've used Witt machine suppressors, and I think for their size and for their price, they are, relatively decent. Well, this one, I mean, it's not going to make your gun quiet. It can't. It's just so small. I'm going to show you real quick, because it is very easy to do so, what this suppressor looks like. So, it is a monocore design, which I think if you shot it just like this, it might be the world's most effective muzzle brake. And then it's basically got a sleeve over it and then kind of a flash hider on the muzzle end. I don't really know how it does on flash, because I shot it in the bright sunlight. As far as sound suppression, it did surprise me, being that I didn't expect it to do much, but I could definitely tell that I was shooting a suppressed gun. It was quieter for sure than a regular 5.56 AR-15 with a muzzle brake or a flash hider on the end. So it does work as a suppressor. Before we get into the rest of these, let's have a quick word from our channel partner. This video is sponsored by Aura. Aura is peace of mind in a world that is so much online these days. Every time that one of you guys clicks the first link in the description and signs up for aura.com/sawtoothtactical, you help me fund this channel to be able to bring you guys new cool stuff to show. What does Aura offer you? Well, for one, if you use that link, you get 2 weeks free trial. That's 14 days, and it is only $12 a month after that. And for that $12, like I said, you get peace of mind. What they do is that they go online and they find data brokers that have your information, and they submit opt-out requests on your behalf. And then scammers, spammers, all these things online that want to take advantage of you can't get a hold of your information anymore. I've been using it now for months, and it's really helped me out quite a bit. I'm one of those people that really gets sick of getting spam calls, spam emails, all this stuff all the time, and I don't get it anymore ever since I've been using Aura. It is well worth the money, but you also get a lot more than just opt out from data brokers. You get a VPN, home title monitoring, password manager, basically all of the stuff that your online security, they just take care of all of it for you. It's super easy to set up. It takes like minutes, and it hardly costs you anything. Think about all the other things that you spend more than $12 a month on. This just, it's nice to not have your information out there anymore and to not have to worry about that stuff anymore. So check out Aura, use my link. You get 14 days, 2 weeks free if you use that link. Again, that's aura.com/sawtoothtactical. I really, really love Aura, and I think you will too. So the Canooter valve surprised me, actually with how good it was, for how small it is, and for how inexpensive it is. As far as compared to my other 5.56 can, yeah, it is not as quiet. That is for sure. But it is quieter than not having a suppressor. So it does work. It does do what a suppressor is supposed to do. And we've got it on a full-length AR here. This is a build that Nick did. In fact, he's got the same UTG handguard as I used to have on my 16-inch gun. Just the full-length free-float version. He's got a Holosun 510C on it with the EOTech magnifier on the Omni flip to center mount with the Unity riser. You guys know how much I love that kind of setup. And so I did feel right at home with this rifle. He's also got a Magpul bab lever, so it's technically ambi. And the rifle shot very well. It was extremely accurate, and it zeroed well. I had no issues with it. But we are talking suppressors in this video. Is this suppressor worth getting? Well, if you really want to get a very affordable suppressor, that is what this is. If you want to get a very effective suppressor, that is not really what this is. I could tell a difference between this and an unsuppressed gun, for sure. But it's not as effective. It can't be as effective as a bigger suppressor. There's just not enough volume in here for it to do the job of a larger suppressor. And so I would not shoot this without Ear Pro. But we're going to find out in this video that my theory about volume and sound suppression isn't 100% solid, but there's also reasons for that. Kind of not comparing apples to apples here when it comes to these three suppressors. These two are both 5.56 cans. This is a 30 cal can. And while it is bigger, you're going to see that on 5.56, maybe not as effective. But we'll get into that here shortly. As far as the Witt machine can goes, it did about exactly as you'd expect. Probably a little bit better than you'd expect. Next up is my Otter Creek Labs Polonium K. If you guys have been following the channel, you know how much I love this suppressor. I think that it does a really good job at sound suppression for its size and for its price point, although it is a little gassy. Wind is picking up, almost lost the camera there. Our next two suppressors that we tested, next I went to the Otter Creek Labs Polonium K, and I tested both of these suppressors on my Mark 18 build. And the reason for that is because low back pressure, I wanted to see how true that really was. And I'd already shot this on a 6.5 Creedmoor and a 300 Blackout. I was extremely impressed on 300 Blackout, but I wanted there to be kind of a control between these two suppressors. And so I shot them both on the short-barreled, over-gassed 300 Blackout, because this suppressor, the OCL Polonium K, you do get gassed pretty harshly if you're mag dumping with it. Now, is it as bad as people make it out to be? Absolutely not, but it is a gassy girl. This suppressor, though, is extremely effective for its size as sound suppression. A couple weeks ago, I was shooting a video with this suppressor on the Mark 18, took my ear pro off, and it was really not that bad. In fact, I feel like it was quieter, 5.56 with this K-can, than my 300 Blackout with subsonic rounds is with this Witt machine and tool Dirty 30. So I've been extremely impressed with this suppressor. It is a traditional baffle stack regular suppressor. It is not low back pressure, but it is high functioning. It is very effective. It's got an extremely small bore, just big enough to fit a 223 5.56 round through it. And I have the SilencerCo ASR mount on it, which I have put on all of my 5.56 guns. And that is also what made it easy to test this on so many of my guns. So as far as this can goes, I'm extremely impressed with its performance as far as sound suppression goes. It is way quieter than the Witt machine and tool Canooter valve. Much, much quieter. But you'd expect that from a can that costs 5 times as much and is much bigger. This, across the board, if you look for reviews on the Polonium K from Otter Creek Labs, they are all very positive. I love the way this suppressor sounds, but I am eating gas for sure. Of all of the suppressors that I own, the Polonium K is my favorite so far. Now I am looking into getting a bigger 30 cal suppressor for my 300 Blackout, because you can make subsonic 300 Blackout very quiet with a bigger 30 cal can. But for right now, this Polonium K is my favorite suppressor that I own. It does really a pretty amazing job of suppressing 5.56, especially for its size, which is really nice when you have a gun like a Mark 18 that you want to keep nice and short, kind of the whole point of a 10.3 inch barrel. Well, when you put a K can on the end, you're not adding a whole lot of extra length, a whole lot of extra weight, but you're getting really, really good sound suppression with it. I was able to shoot rounds without ear pro, 5.56, a supersonic round, high pressure round with this can, and it was relatively comfortable. Would I mag dump 5.56 all day without ear pro with the can on it? No, but for a few rounds, it wasn't bad. I've got the biggest and most expensive can that we brought out here. This is the SilencerCo Velos LBP. Now this is a 7.62 can, but I had to try it on the Mark 18, see how it was gas-wise, because LBP stands for low back pressure. Now the last suppressor that we tried in this comparison was the SilencerCo Velos LBP. And I was happy to be able to try this can on so many rifles because, again, it has the ASR mounting system, which I already use. As you can see, though, it does add a lot more length to the Mark 18 than the Polonium K does. It also is a little bit heavier. This can, though, is a very interesting suppressor. So with the Witt machine Canooter valve being a monocore design, And the Polonium K being a baffle stack can. This one is 3D printed Inconel with stainless steel basically welded on either end. It is an expensive suppressor. It's a very good suppressor. It is low back pressure. And that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to test and why I put it on the Mark 18, because I do kind of get gassed with the Polonium K on this gun. Even with the H3 Geisley Super 42 buffer slowing everything down, still pretty gassy. Well, when I tried the Velos LBP on it, much less gassy. But this is where you can understand why I said the results may surprise you. I did try this suppressor without Ear Pro, and I don't think it was as quiet as this one is without Ear Pro. Now, to be fair, this is a 30 cal low back pressure, meaning flow through suppressor. Generally, flow through suppressors are not going to be as quiet as a regular baffle stack can. You kind of, there is no free lunch. If you get that flow through, less gas to your face, it might not be quite as quiet. But I was hopeful because this thing was extremely quiet on the 300 blackout shooting subs. It sounds really good on the 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10 I've been shooting, and it sounded really good on this too. But when I did shoot it without Ear Pro, it hurt my ears. My ears were ringing, which shouldn't have surprised me. That's generally what you expect shooting 5.56 without Ear Pro, no matter the suppressor. But being that I was surprised how comfortable it was to shoot this suppressor without Ear Pro, that's why I was surprised how uncomfortable it was shooting this one without Ear Pro. Now, it wasn't terrible by any means, but it did have a very high-pitched sound to it, and it hurt my ears a little bit. I put the Ear Pro back on. I tried it without ears, and it wasn't terrible, but still pretty loud. We're going to do a little bit of mag dumping and see how the gas is. That low back pressure is nice. Thing is though, like I said, flow through, but also it's a 30 cal suppressor. They do make a 5.56 Velos LBP, which I'm sure is more effective on a 5.56 gun. You can run a 30 cal suppressor on a 5.56 gun. That's not a problem, but they wouldn't make 5.56 suppressors if they weren't more effective on 5.56 guns. That's kind of the no free lunch thing. You can get a do-it-all suppressor like this. I've been running it on a bunch of different platforms the last 2 weeks. But a 30 cal can is not going to be as effective as a 5.56 can on a 5.56 gun. You don't have quite as tight a bore around the round that's coming out. You get just more sound, more pressure coming out the end because of that, and especially again because low back pressure. And so a lot of that escaping pressure and gas and sound is coming out the end instead of getting trapped inside it like it would with a traditional baffle stack suppressor. And so the reason why I say again that the results may surprise you, because they did surprise me, was this. I expected this test to be very ineffective, decently effective, because I already know how this can sounds, and very, very good. And what I found instead was that this can was more effective than I thought it would be for its size and for its price. The Polonium K didn't surprise me one bit. I already know what it sounds like. I've shot a ton of rounds through it. I love this suppressor. But on 5.56, this suppressor was not better than this one, even though it is bigger, longer, and more expensive. So I thought that this video was worth bringing to you guys. If you're looking into getting suppressors, understand that if you get a low back pressure can, if you get a 30 cal can that you want to be able to use on everything, it's probably not going to be as effective on 5.56 as a dedicated 5.56 suppressor. That was the biggest takeaway from this test for me. I love this Velos LBP. I think for a 30 cal gun. I think especially on 300 blackout shooting subs, this thing is absolutely amazing. Plus, it's just gorgeous. I mean, they did an incredible job on this suppressor. It's very robust, it's full auto rated, it's low back pressure, and with the right ammo, it's very quiet. But this test made me very happy with my choice with the OCL Polonium K. And you're gonna see that if you look into reviews on the Polonium K, people love this suppressor. I think it's one of the best values in suppressors that are out there. But I wanna know what you guys think. Which suppressors have you tested? Have you tested any of the ones that I have in front of me? I've got 3 Witt machine tool cans right here. I've got the SilencerCo and I've got the Polonium K. And I've tried a lot of other suppressors. I've used the Huxworks Flow 556K. I've used a Stingerworks suppressor, which was huge, but aluminum, but it was extremely quiet on 300 blackout as well. Just not sure I'd want to mag dump that thing all the time. But I do have a pretty good amount of experience with suppressors now. I've been trying to shoot suppressors and try suppressors and review suppressors and test suppressors as much as possible ever since getting my first one, because I think that there are a few things that really change the way that your gun performs. I think a good trigger is one of them. That's why I put Geisley triggers in all of my guns. I think a suppressor is one of them. It can really change the way your gun feels, the way it recoils, the way it sounds, and also how much gas you eat. And there are give and takes there. But I want to know what your guys' favorite suppressor is. Leave your favorite suppressor recommendation down in the comments for the viewers to read and maybe help people choose the right suppressor for them. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.